Well, NBA legend and sports commentator Charles Barkley is weighing in on the backlash over Georgia's new voting law. This after Major League Baseball pulled its All-Star game out of Atlanta over it. Much of the reporting and talk about it has been misinformation regarding it. Barkley says especially by politicians with something to gain.
Man, I think most white people and black people are great people. I really believe that in my heart. But I think our system is set up where our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, are designed to make us not like each other so they can keep their grasp of money and power.
Democrats are calling the law restrictive against minorities, and President Biden called it Jim Crow on steroids. Even the Washington Post fact-checkers are calling out the party for getting the facts wrong. In reality, the law expands early voting access in most counties. It expands weekend voting to 2 Saturdays and potentially 2 Sundays. It codifies drop-off balloting, which was a temporary measure for the 2020 elections. It also prohibits outside groups from handing out food and water to voters within 150 feet of a polling place, but allows water stations where voters can serve themselves. The law also requires a valid photo ID to request an absentee ballot. The Washington Post fact-checker actually gave President Biden its worst rating for Pinocchios for claiming that the bill ends voting early so working people can't vote. The outcry by organizations like Major League Baseball and even beverage giant Coca-Cola was based on inaccurate information like the claims of the president. We are joined now by Hans von Spakovsky, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Hans, thanks for joining us.
Sure thing.
So, complicated issue here. You say that the Georgia voter ID bill is very similar to the Help America Vote Act, which President Biden supported, as well as other Democratic senators. If that is so, then how do you make sense of the bitter debate right now?
Well, because it's based on false claims being made by critics like Joe Biden. And I think sometimes this is very intentional, because I think it's a way of trying to undergird support for the passage of H.R. 1. That's the bill that's currently in Congress. It passed the House and it's now in the Senate, which would lead to complete federal takeover of the election process.
Democrats are especially concerned about absentee ballots in Georgia, that voters will have less time to request them, and that there's strict new ID requirements for them. What's your take on that?
Well, that's just false. Voters have months to request an absentee ballot, and the ID requirement can be simply met by writing in the serial number of a person's photo ID card, which is provided for free by the state. So the idea that it's somehow restrictive of voting just is not true.
Democrats are also saying they're concerned that this bill gives the Republican-controlled legislature more power over the state election board and county election officials. What do you say to that?
This provision that they put in to try to remove election officials that don't comply with the law is very similar to that of other states like Florida and elsewhere. So again, it's only put in to try to protect voters from arbitrary decisions made by election officials that, again, don't comply with state legal requirements.
Hans, I'm really interested in your overall perspective because you, of course, have worked on voting and election issues for decades. How concerned are you about this seeming breakdown in the ability of both parties to work together to create confidence in our election system?
Well, I'm very concerned about that because the confidence of the American public has been steadily going down in the fairness and integrity of the election process. And when you have particularly folks on one side of the political aisle making false claims about election reforms, that makes it even tougher to fix the vulnerabilities that currently exist in the system.
Well, I know we all want to see it happen. Just to find the pathway forward is a question. Hans von Spakovsky, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.